Hey, Run Tribe Bike community. Welcome to the 129th episode of our Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Now, before we get started with today's show, I want to remind you that you can find this show along with others on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on the Run Tribe Bike YouTube channel. Our shows include Running Tales with Craig Lewis, Beyond the Finish Line with Joe Harden, Food Fight Friday at the Aid Station with Adam Lee and myself, Jason Bahamundi, as well as What's in Your Earbuds with Gandhi and Joe Harden, along with Fiery Embers. So we've got something for everybody. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so that we can keep these amazing guests coming on and providing you with inspiration and motivation from everyday athletes like yourself, as well as tips from experts in the fields of nutrition, sports psychology, and coaching. Today, we are joined by Karen and Caleb Prewitt, known as Caleb's Crew, on your favorite social platforms. Caleb is a young athlete with Down syndrome who is making waves in the world of triathlon. His mother, Karen, supports his endeavors with her long experience in the world of endurance sports, and we can't wait to chat with both of them on this next episode of our Fireside Chat. So let's not wait any longer, and let's bring Karen and Caleb to the show. Hi, Karen and Caleb. How are you doing today?
We're great. How are you?
Very good.
Fantastic. We're so thrilled to be able to talk to you. I know we had an interview probably about a year ago and featured you on our website. So it's been a long time coming to finally get you on our Fireside Chat.
Yeah, I think we had just connected on Threads back last year. So
yeah,
it's been a while.
That platform has been amazing for us to connect with the endurance sports community and meet some wonderful people like yourselves. Before we get started with our show, we have an icebreaker for both of you. When it comes to pizza, is pineapple a good thing or is pineapple a bad thing on pizza?
I'll let you go first. Do you like pineapple on your pizza?
No. And regular pizza, we have cheeseburger pizza.
Caleb says no to pineapple, and I would concur. And he's voting for cheeseburger pizza.
Fantastic. I love it already. We're on a good roll to kick off this show. I agree with both of you. Pineapple on pizza is no good.
Man. But I do appreciate I think that's the first time we've had cheeseburger pizza on the show. That's true. That does sound like an interesting variety.
It's delicious.
While we were in the green room, before we jumped onto the conversation here, Karen, you mentioned that unfortunately, due to the hurricane that came through recently, Caleb's 40th triathlon was canceled. So I want to press rewind a little bit and go back to prior to the first triathlon that he participated in and ask you, what got you started? What got Caleb started with this idea of participating in endurance sports and triathlon specifically?
Well, it was during the pandemic, and I've been a lifelong runner since middle school, so a little over 50 years now. And we were just looking for things to do. We were hiking, we were going on long car rides, but we decided that actually Special Olympics Florida was doing some virtual programming, which was really awesome. And they put out a Couch to 5K program, and I talked to Caleb. I said, do you want to try and do some running? And he said yes. And so we started with that Couch to 5K program. This was like about 4 years ago, September, October of 2020. And our goal was to do the 5K at Thanksgiving. They do a 5K and they do a half marathon. And so, at the Couch to 5K, I'm sure you're familiar with, you increase a little bit every week. And so soon we got to middle of November, and Caleb thought he was ready. And so we did the 5K, and that was his very first race, which was very exciting. And then Special Olympics Florida again decided that they were going to offer triathlon to the whole state instead of just being in Central Florida. And we're up here in Northeast Florida. And so again, I said to Caleb, do you want to give it a try? Pun intended. And he said yes. And so, I explained to him all the different parts of a triathlon. He knew how to swim. He had just learned how to bike at a bike camp that summer. And he had just started running. And so we thought, we'll try it and see, it can't hurt to try it. And so he did we started with training camp in January of 2021. And he did his first one in June of 2021. It was amazing. I think tears ran down my face the whole time. I was so, thrilled with him. He had a wonderful partner, a young man named Stephen Wright, who we're still friends with today. And he supported Caleb for a few years now. And it's just been an amazing ride for 4 years so far.
Were the tears from that first triathlon a mixture of excitement, a mixture of elation, and thank goodness we got through all of it? And right. Was it like because you're still a mom when it's all said and done?
Yeah, you don't know, when they're out there on the bike, you don't know, you don't see what's going on. And so I think during the bike portion, that was really the most nerve-wracking as a parent, and still is today, if I'm not riding with them. So yeah, I think, just relief and happiness, and super proud that he stuck with it and finished the whole race.
Yeah, sorry, Jason, I was just going to ask I wanted to ask about some of the nuances of training for that first race. But I had a question for Caleb. I asked this to everybody who does triathlon. Between the bike, swim, and the run, what is your favorite?
My favorite one will be running.
He says running.
Oh, same, but that's because you can't get my butt on a bike.
He says running. I would agree with him.
You're forgiven for pineapple on pizza. So I'd love to hear about kind of just what was it like training for that first triathlon? What did you learn? And just some of the things you kind of have fine-tuned over the years with some of those nuances as for Caleb, and also for you as somebody who has been in sports for so many decades.
Right. And I was not a triathlete. So we learned this together. Our whole family learned what triathlon was. We didn't know what transitions were. I was not a biker. We had 0 bikes when we started this. I think now we have 4 out in the garage. At one point we had 6. And so it was really a steep learning curve. Thank goodness we had monthly clinics with our friends in Special Olympics, Florida. And so we were able to learn from those who had already done them, including Stephen, which is super helpful. But we practice. We watched YouTube videos. And what? And Mike. Yes, Mike is another buddy who competes with Caleb. We learned, everything about triathlon, all the how to run from the swim exit to transition and quick change and get your shoes on and hop on your bike. And they came and watched us too. Yes, our family came and watched us. And that was... I don't know what you're saying, bud.
Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte, yes. She likes to watch Caleb on the bike, right? Yeah. And so it was, thankfully, everyone we've encountered has been super supportive. I don't think we've ever encountered a race director because we were doing them with Special Olympics. And then all of a sudden, I started noticing all the other community events that were going on. And so we said, well, let's, reach out to, hang on. Our cat is going to join us.
Yes.
I love it.
I told you.
Oh, hey, Coco.
And so I reached out and I was like, hey, this is our situation. We have a young man with Down syndrome who likes to do triathlons, and I'm typically his race partner or Stephen or Mike. What do you think? And not one of them ever said no. So, inclusivity is a huge part of our platform, what we talk about. And we've been very, very lucky to have been included the whole 4 years. Yeah. USAT does a fantabulous job of growing that portion of diversity in their DEIA program. And so we've been fortunate enough to be a part of that ride as well.
Which leads me to a question. I was going to ask you about support from the very first triathlon to what would amount to the 40th triathlon. What has changed and what still needs to be done to help athletes like Caleb?
Well, for him, it's a little bit different because he has done almost 40 now. But for when he was starting out, it was, making sure we had things right, mostly in transition, like my bike racked next to his, or, his partner, whoever his partner is. So we could assist him coming out of the water, coming off the bike, making sure that he's got his helmet buckled. Because, in the excitement of a race sometimes, and, I'm guilty of this too, we forget to buckle our helmet. Well, that's a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So, making sure we're doing all the things is a huge part of that. We've just learned so much over the last 40 triathlons. But, again, going back to the beginning, not knowing, I think, big chunks of what triathlon was, like how do I hydrate? How do I make sure I have enough nutrition? And now that he's starting to do longer races, we have to really dial in those things before the race begins.
Is that something that you're capable of working with Caleb on through coaching, from outside help to remind him you've got to drink? Because, everybody falls into these, shall we say, traps of not remembering to drink, right? And so, are there reinforcements from you, from coaches about drinking and eating while he's on the bike? Because you said one of your biggest fears is when he's on the bike because you're not with him. And getting him coming back into the run. And obviously, fueling is important. So are you working with him on those things consistently?
Yes. And that's a great point, because last year we finally decided, because for people with Down syndrome, balance is a huge issue. And so for him to reach down under his bike and pull up a water bottle and drink it and then put it back down, it's not going to happen for him. And so what we did was we got one of those front hydration systems for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he just leans over, the straw's right there. He just drinks from that. But again, it's right there, but I still have to remind him, hey, did you, have you half an hour, have you drunk anything? And then again, when we're out on the run, we've got a handheld water bottle. But again, it's like reminding him to take a drink, reminding him to stop at the water stations and take some. He likes to use Cliff Blocks and sports beans. So those are the two things that we mostly defer to. As he starts doing longer and longer events, we've just signed up for our first ultra, so that'll be intense, different. But we'll have to learn a lot about, taking our nutrition and hydration up to another level at that point.
One more question before I turn it back over to you, Om.
Yeah.
So Caleb, out of the Cliff Blocks, what's your favorite flavor?
I was just going to ask that. I love it.
Black, what?
Okay. My favorite
The Cliff
my favorite series.
Cherry, black cherry.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm a watermelon fan, but black cherry does sound good. I don't think I've had that flavor.
Black cherry is my favorite too.
It's pretty good. We love them. We started out with sports beans, and because I can't really do goos and gels. They just don't sit right for me. So I've always used sports beans. And so it was kind of second nature that we tried sports beans with him, and he loves them. We use them before we go to the gym. We use them. They're always in the car. But I forget how we started with Cliff Blocks. And then someone just turned us on to Scratch too. So when he went to camp last week, he went to a para camp. I don't know if you saw that. That was pretty cool. The first ever para camp and race was out in Texas. So we were in Texas for a few days. but someone gave us some scratch, and so we tried that. We liked that. So,
What flavor was that?
oh gosh, it was red.
Oh, so they have a fruit punch flavor, which
Berry,
is very
fruit.
good.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I do like the raspberry flavor too. That's pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Maybe it was. Yeah, I think it was raspberry.
and I'm a huge fan of the lemon lime. So if you like sort of like that tartness, that would be one
Yes,
too.
My beach.
lemon lime's great. So one of the things that I always like to dive into with endurance sports, like pun intended for sure, because we're talking about triathlon here too, is I'm always curious about how people handle their highs and low moments in endurance sports, and I'm curious about, as you go through training, there are definitely bad workouts, there are bad days, there are low moments. You also have them in races as well. How does Caleb handle these moments, and how do you coach him to handle those moments?
We've definitely had a few. I think probably the most difficult one was his first did not finish DNF, and that was unfortunately at USA Games back in 2022, and he had a stomach cramp, and I was not his partner at the time, but his partner, decided that he was struggling, and for his own safety, to pull him off the course, right?
Yeah.
And it was a hard call.
And Caleb, DNFs are the worst. They
Yeah,
sting.
you can't get up, you can't. It's stomach cramps are the worst, and so it was really it was sad. But Caleb was in an hour or so. He felt better. He was out there dancing like he always is, and then we got back on our bike literally, and we went that next week, and we went and did some hills that are next to our community on our bike, and making sure that he still was engaged and wanting to do it. So
I love the simple, and I'll turn this over to you, Jason, after this, but like, I love the simple action of like, I'm going through all the emotions. It sucks, but now I'm going to get up and do the dance and get back on the bike. It's like you have to embrace and go through those ebbs and flows of emotions. But like, it's amazing how those simple things, like, sometimes like smiling more or like dancing more, and can really not only help you, but I think inspire the people around you as well.
yeah, it was a hard moment, and there have been others too, for sure. But we just there's always going to be another race. There's always going to be another event, and so just focusing on the future and what lies ahead for him. He's still young. He's only 17. There's a lot of future left for him. So one bad race is not going to end his racing career. So we just keep moving forward.
How do you pick out the races that you want to participate in? Is there a scenario in which you're looking at where they're being held, or obviously opportunity for Caleb to race as well? Like if there is a decision tree, like what are you going through when you're looking for races?
Oh, that's a great question, because we've already started our 2025 calendar. It's about halfway done now. And really it's what will challenge him next. We're looking for different styles of racing. He did his first Spartan race last year, he liked it. He had a lot of fun doing it. And we did it with Ansley's Angels, which is a great team to do it with. And what's some other races that you like doing?
Like race like you.
We did it for his first trail race about a month ago.
Yeah.
We started doing Olympic racing. He did his first independent triathlon last year. That has been a goal since the very beginning, and he did it. It was a closed bike course, and safety, of course, is number one in all our decisions regarding racing for Caleb. But You know, we're fortunate up here in Jacksonville that we have a lot of road races. So, you know, besides triathlon, there's a lot of running events. There's something almost every weekend up here that we could do, or 2 or 3. And so we're very fortunate that way. So really it's a mixture of, you know, what's going to challenge him. You know, what's the weather going to be like? He's not a hot weather runner. And so looking for those cooler temperatures, especially when we're doing longer runs. But what are some new and different things that we want to try moving forward? So as he gets older, he'll be 18 in March. He'll be able to do some even longer races.
You mentioned that he did an independent Olympic recently, and I was going to ask you about you racing, because unless you're doing all 39 of those triathlons with him, you're racing too along the way, I'm guessing, correct?
Yes. So as I mentioned before, you know, Caleb was the triathlete before I was. And so I think he did his first triathlon in 2021, June, and I did my first one in July that year. And so we've both been racing. Usually I'm his support. I'm his partner in a lot of races, but we went up to Atlantic City a couple weeks ago for USAT Nationals. He did the sprint, I did the Olympic, and we both did the open water swim. And it was good, right? We had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and met some new people, saw some friends up there. But I enjoy racing, but I can tell you I really enjoy more being his race partner. It's just satisfying to see him reaching for his goals and accomplishing his goals.
You mentioned open water swim, so that was a standalone swim event then?
Yes, so they did that. They usually do those to kick off their events. And so we did a 750 swim that first day. And then I did my Olympic and he did his sprint the following 2 days.
So he swam on his own, or were you with him in the swim?
I was with him, but he has done some on his own. So okay. Again, that's something that we're building towards. He's swimming longer and longer now in practice. And so we're, you know, again, it's goals that we're working towards.
Yeah, here's my score.
When it comes to swimming, especially in the open water, right? When you're swimming, are you swimming?
That was, you know, when you talk about things to learn about at the beginning of triathlon, you know, neither one of us had ever done open water swim. I played around in the ocean a little bit, but, you know, to put on a wetsuit and to go into, you know, when we were up in Milwaukee, it was 58-degree water. Ooh. And that was a little uncomfortable, but he got in and he did it. And that was, again, a 750 swim. So, you know, always trying something new. I think that's the exciting thing about triathlon, right? Is it's always something new and different. Yeah. We go to new places and we meet new people. Along the way, we get encouraging notes from parents, especially of little ones with Down syndrome, you know, letting us know that he's inspired them to do, you know, what have you, not necessarily triathlon, but, you know, maybe it's running or maybe it's swimming or maybe it's, you know, just something a goal that they've set for themselves.
I'll turn it over to you, Om, in a second after this question. So when it comes to coaching Caleb in the water with, you know, open water swimming, how difficult, how easy is that to do, to work with him on sighting and looking for things, or looking for you as his swim partner? Like, how does that work? Walk me through that.
Yeah, that's it's been a work in progress, actually, and we've tweaked it to where I think he feels pretty comfortable. He just recently got some prescription swim goggles, and so he's worn those now, I think 2 or 3 times, and he seems to really like those. But I will swim about 10 feet in front of him, and I'll be, you know, Caleb, you know, here. So he's always looking for me, because I was never sure if he could see the buoy, you know. So we practice that where he's looking for my swim cap, and I'm about 10 feet in front of him, always, saying, Caleb, this way. And it's worked so far.
Does it get impacted if it's a larger field and there are other, because typically the way the swims work are, women are wearing a specific color swim cap, men are wearing a different specific color swim cap. And so if there are multiple people around you specifically with the same swim cap, has that caused any issues with him being able to make sure he's behind you?
Well, typically when we race as partners, we have our own, there's either a Special Olympics category or a neurodivergent category, or USAT uses ATD2 as their category for Down syndrome. And so we have a different color swim cap than the field.
Yep.
And so, for instance, up in Atlantic City, we wore gold. So he's looking for the other gold. There's not very many of us. So he's looking for a gold swim cap as opposed to pink or green or, yellow, what have you.
And you're getting my score.
Yes.
So one of the things that I wanted to really dive into, again, making these puns, is it's just your messaging of diversity and inclusion. So you mentioned earlier in the green room that you started out with primarily a Down syndrome audience, and you've branched out into triathlon, and there's kind of a mix of those audiences. So what I wanted to ask is, like, as Caleb has gone through these races, as he's done these 39 triathlons, and he's going up for his first ultra, and your audience has grown, have you seen support from others in the community who are dealing with, who are facing similar challenges, who are, are you getting messages from people? What kind of reception are you receiving, and support from the community?
From the triathlon community, or?
Just in general, like what the messaging you're receiving from the community?
Again, it's a mixture. We get messages from parents of kids with Down syndrome. We have a lot of friends with Down syndrome who are older, and they're encouraged by, I think, the physicalness that Caleb has in his life now for 4 years. And, certainly the triathlon and running community, we're part of Team Zoot, and talk about inclusivity. They've embraced him, wholeheartedly. We just signed up for year 3 with them, and got to see a bunch of our friends from Team Zoot up in Atlantic City. And it's wonderful because, there's no question that Caleb's an athlete, just like the rest of them. And, we've always felt very welcomed and accepted and encouraged.
What kind of advice do you give to parents who are interested in getting their children who have Down syndrome into these sports? What are those conversations like? What do you say to them in terms of advice and encouragement?
Well, we started with Special Olympics back when he was just 3 years old. They have a wonderful program called the Young Athletes Program. And for us, that was a great springboard into the world of sports. It teaches very basic skills like how to run correctly, because there's a way, people with Down syndrome, for example, the way their bodies are different than ours. So, they tend to have wider hips, and they run a little bit different. And so making sure that the form is correct for, swimming, biking, running, jumping, batting a ball, all those things, that's what they teach in the Young Athletes Program. And so that I thought was very helpful for us in the beginning. And then we've just kind of launched into sport, and Special Olympics was there for us for at least 5 years before we kind of meandered our way out into the regular community of sport, and thankfully have had great. Yeah, Courtney has been very supportive too. Yes, his sister. But we've always felt very accepted, and I think just if you have a sport that your child is interested in, we started with the scattergun approach. So we tried everything at the beginning. He tried bowling, he tried softball, he tried basketball, and he tried triathlon, he tried running, and so we've got to the point now where we've kind of weeded away the things that he wasn't really that interested in, or the things that we felt he was better at. Those are the ones that we pursued. And so really, I would take it from your child as to what their interests are. If they're showing any inclination to swimming, make sure they get, ISR lessons and swim safety lessons, and learn how to do the strokes correctly. So making sure they're doing the form correctly, I think, is the most important.
That's a lesson we can all learn.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, I find Caleb to be inspirational and motivational when you post his finish line dances. They always bring a smile to my face. They're fantastic.
He is a much better dancer than I am. I'm just
Me too. Yes.
I dance, but I'm not as good as Caleb.
But I'm wondering, he's inspiring those of us that don't live or are related to you. Has he inspired family members to get involved in endurance sports?
Yeah, who did you inspire? Who did you inspire to get into running?
With for running like that is her name?
Evelyn, his niece, Evelyn, has started. She's 8 now.
And Charlotte.
And Charlotte is 4. And Evelyn has started her Girls on the Run program at school. So she's
Me too.
done a couple 5Ks now, and she's also into karate. So I think Uncle Caleb has inspired her to get into sports.
Charlotte.
So,
basketball.
right?
Basketball.
What inspired you to say, let's go try this ultra thing? Swim, bike, and run wasn't hard enough. We're going to now, run for a lot longer than we ever have before.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I recently had a birthday, and I think as those birthdays pile up, I find myself wanting to do bigger and longer events, just to kind of, I guess, challenge myself. And along the way, Caleb sometimes gets kind of dragged along with me, whether he wants to or not. But I'm signed up for this ultra. It's my first ultra. It's a 6-hour race, and my goal is a 50K, which is a little over 30 miles. And he's going to do the 3-hour event, so it'll be loops, which we've done before, the 3-hour one. And so he's going to be there, and Dad will be there as my Sherpa, as our Sherpa. But I think it's important for 2 reasons, maybe more. But number one, I think it's important for Caleb to see that he can challenge himself, and he can do. Okay. He can do bigger and longer and better, and number 2 is, I think it's important for that community to see that he can do those things, because as a result of him being a part of 3 different running clubs and numerous local races, it's not unusual for them to see him at races like it was at the beginning. Here's a kid with Down syndrome at our 5K, which doesn't happen very often, but it should. And so, for him to show up at a race is not such an unusual event anymore. And so we're thrilled with that. We've made a lot of new friends, and most importantly is they support him.
So I'm going to throw out a challenge to you. You don't have to accept it, because I'm doing something utterly ridiculous, which is a 6-hour looped event of 1 mile. and I've been challenged by my partner Ohm here and our podcast host Joe Harden to listen to the same song for as long as I possibly can on this 1 mile loop. And I'm going to be listening to Dance Monkey. And the reason this challenge came about is because I don't run with music ever. I have, I used to have only 2 songs. I'm now up to 4. Dance Monkey is one of those songs because I have to listen to it.
You didn't tell me you upped your playlist to 4
Yeah,
songs.
my playlist now has doubled.
That's 100% jumper. That's a doubling. That's 200%.
So if you want to join me in the most ridiculous thing you could possibly do while running in a 1 mile loop for 6 hours, try listening to the same song the entire time.
Well, it won't be Dance Monkey. I can tell you that. It might be. What's your favorite song?
Move like Jagger.
Moves Like Jagger.
Yes,
Ooh,
Moves
that's
Like
a good
excellent
one.
song. When is your event? When is the event?
It's not till February, so
Oh.
we have plenty of time. But we have a lot of races in between now and then. So we're going to be doing a Disney race in January, and Mom signed up for the Dopey.
Ooh.
With a Dopey. And then we're doing 2 more triathlons before the end of the year, and so he'll have at least hopefully 41.
Are you both doing the Dopey challenge?
I'm sorry.
Are you both doing the Dopey challenge?
No, we're not. I'm running. Hang on just a minute.
Okay.
I'm running the 5K with a young man with Down syndrome. I think it's his first 5K. His name is Isaiah, and he's a wonderful young man, and his parents are even better. And then I'm running the 10K by myself, unless I find a friend there. I'm running the half marathon with Caleb, and I'm running the full marathon with a couple of friends. So it'll be at least, I think one of the hardest things about Disney is, you've got a 2 a.m. wake up call for a 5 a.m. start.
Yeah,
so.
and 4 days in a row,
4 days in a row.
I mean, when that alarm goes off, it's going to be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And my mom.
Yes.
And you do my score, brisk scores. Okay, your brisk scores like solid. I mean,
Yeah.
There's scores.
Yeah, we love school. We love school. Can you tell?
It's right here.
Yep, Caleb loves school.
That's
So
awesome.
Caleb is a senior, by the way. So he
Oh, wow.
will.
We'll show you.
Yeah.
Senior year, here we go.
Yeah. So we're getting school pictures tomorrow, right?
I believe we saw him in a tuxedo recently, correct?
We'll show you.
I'm sorry.
I believe we saw him in a tuxedo recently, or maybe not so recently.
Yeah, that was so. Unfortunately, he was supposed to take his girlfriend to her homecoming dance, which got canceled thanks to Helene.
Oh, okay.
So we're lining something else up, but in the meantime, that was a nice picture from Night to Shine, which is a Tim Tebow event every year in February.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Tebow's kind of a big name over there in northern Florida, and I mean, obviously Gainesville as well. But I'm sure he's doing some amazing things in the community.
He's a great guy. Yes. Oh, there's Coco. Here's Coco.
Hey, Coco.
So before we let you go, Karen and Caleb, we have a fistful of food questions that we love to run through with our guests to get your hottest food takes possible. These are not about, how many calories you should be eating per hour while you're on the bike or while you're running. These are a lot less scientific than that. Are you ready for them?
Good. Because I'm not good with math.
Perfect. Oreos. Are you a fan of Oreos? And if so, are you more of an old school Oreo fan or the double stuff Oreo fan?
Do you like Oreos? I think we are not really Oreo fans as much as we are chocolate chip.
Okay.
Yeah, especially if it's chocolate chip with M&Ms in it.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that kind of eliminates this other question, which was chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin cookies. I'm guessing chocolate chip wins that battle.
Chocolate chip, hands down. If it's chocolate, Caleb and I are both there because after a good hard workout or a good race, what's your treat after a good word. Chocolate. Yeah.
So insider tip, there's a company called Seven Summit Snacks, and they make a chocolate bar that is for endurance athletes. And I use it consistently. They have one that is like a vanilla bean and coffee. They have a PB&J variety. They have a chocolate mint variety. They have one with golden berries and one with goji berries. They're fantastic.
I
And
will look those up. Yes.
yeah, and they come in a package that is like a goo, so you can actually peel it and push the bar up and then eat it and then put it back down. And I mean, even if it melts, it can just become like a liquid gel. So insider tip for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me that I could have chocolate has endurance feel over pressing like multiple gels into my mouth, I mean, sign me up.
Yeah.
Well, you might be able to experience that home because I just ordered some. So and if they're here before we go to Moab, I'll bring them with me.
Oh, yes.
Licorice. Are you a fan of licorice?
If I were, it would be the red,
Okay.
not the black.
Good answer. Excellent answer. We're on a good path here. Peeps.
Ask me about Swedish fish, though.
Okay.
It's kind of licorice-y, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Swedish fish are kind of like my kryptonite, along with chocolate.
Have you had the blueberry lemon from Swedish Fish? The Swedish Fish
I have
variety?
not.
That's a flavor.
This is the
Get
first
there.
time. Yeah.
Run to CVS as fast as you can and get yourself a package. They are phenomenal.
I will.
Peeps. Are Peeps a real candy or are they just marshmallows covered in glitter?
Peeps are so far from food that I can't fathom putting one in my mouth, but more power to you.
This might
Give
be
me
one that
a Cadbury egg over your Peep.
You're a fan of the Cadbury egg?
Yes, absolutely.
Whoa.
Caramel and chocolate. Yes.
I remember seeing that thing as a kid and being freaked out that there was an egg inside of chocolate, and it has never been a thing where I've been like, let me try that.
That was a really good answer on Peeps, though.
Yes. Candy corn. Is candy corn a real candy or is it just earwax covered in sugar?
Gosh, I used to love candy corn. And
then you got
distanced,
wise.
I distanced myself from it intentionally. But I would eat it again, yes.
Are
And
circus,
even if it was earwax, I would still
are circus peanuts a real candy or are they just orange painted styrofoam?
the latter, yeah. No. You need to find a new line of candy, Jason. Jeez.
I walk through the CVS and I look at all the bad candy that's on there. And I come up with ways for people to answer
Kit
these questions.
Kats, Three Musketeers, nothing with nuts. So no nuts.
How do you eat Kit Kats? Do you break them into little sticks or you just eat it like it's a sandwich?
I like the little sticks. We get the individual wrap ones, the little ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, they have a new vanilla. I don't know if it's new. It's vanilla.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's my newest crush is those.
Are you a fan of Twix?
Yeah, in limited doses, right? Do you like Twix? Caleb's
Do you like-
favorite is what?
Treasures.
No, what's your favorite candy? Chocolate.
Oh yeah. Reese's Buttercups.
Reese's Buttercup peanut
Excellent.
butter.
Oh, yes. Oh, man.
You like
Chocolate.
the one that'll be coming out here soon if it's not already out, the Jack-o'-lantern variety for Halloween?
Everybody.
I have not seen that one. We have not seen that one. Is it different? Is it different?
No, it's just a different
Oh,
shade.
okay.
Yeah.
It's chocolate and peanut butter. What could go
That's
wrong?
it. When it comes to Twix, do you like the left or the right?
Oh gosh. Well, we get again the individual little
Smart.
ones, so that solves that.
Is red velvet cake a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
That's just red food coloring. No, I say no.
Oh.
Caleb. Okay, we're cookie fans, but Caleb loves. What else do you love for dessert?
Sorry, circus chips.
Chocolate chips. But what else? What did you have tonight?
M&M's.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a
yes.
huge ice cream fan.
Favorite flavor?
What's your favorite flavor?
Chocolate.
Chocolate, of course. For chocolate fans, what can we say?
Straight
Evergreen.
chocolate? Chocolate
Okay.
mint?
Yeah, his favorite candy bar is a Hershey milk chocolate because he's
Okay.
always thinking there might be a Wonka golden ticket inside.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you
Is there
break it into
cookie?
little pieces? Do
There could be. I'm
you
sorry.
break- do you break the Hershey bar into little squares, or you're just taking it all in?
Do you break it up or do you eat it all?
You know.
He eats it all. Yeah.
Yes.
He's not shy with his chocolate. Don't play around.
What about cake? Do you like cake?
No cake.
Oh,
No cake?
that's good. Fun.
Pie? Are you fans of pie at all?
Pie.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really
What's your
fun.
favorite pie?
Chocolate.
Chocolate pie. Of course.
I love it. I love the
He
consistency.
does like lemon meringue too.
Yes.
My mom.
But I'm again chocolate chip cookie. Yeah,
He likes it.
she likes that.
S'mores. Are you guys fans of s'mores?
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yeah,
I like s'mores all the time.
yeah.
When it comes to cooking the marshmallow, are you getting it burnt chocolate crispy, or are you like slightly toasting it?
My toasty like cupping my camp.
Yeah, I can't. But do you like it really crispy, or do you like it kind of mushy?
It's messy.
Well, he says mushy, but I like crispy.
Yeah, it's got to be like a charcoal briquette that you could just pull the outside off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. Well, we talked about candy bars, we talked about ice cream. So here's our last question for you. Brownies. So I know you're fans of chocolate, so you've got to have an answer for this one. Tray of brownies is sitting on the counter. Are you going for the corner edge piece that has a little bit of crust to it, or are you going to the center piece that's more ooey gooey?
Which kind of brownie do you like? Crusty or ooey gooey?
Good.
Ooey gooey. I vote ooey gooey
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, give me that centerpiece.
That's good, because I could eat all the outside edges while you guys are fighting over this.
I'll save ours and ship them to you.
Perfect. Caleb and Karen, thank you so much for joining us on our Fireside Chat. It's been a pleasure to get to know you guys better and have some fun all along the way. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Yes, and Coco
Everybody,
says
thank you.
tonight as well.
Thanks, Coco, for joining us too. We appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and remember to subscribe, rate, and review to the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Have a great evening.